I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Jayson.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about Rogue One. Last night, Jayson and I went and saw Rogue One, a Star Wars story, at a drive-in movie theater.
No, we didn't.
We did.
Well, yeah,
we went to a drive-in last night, and we saw Rogue One.
Yeah, but
and I thought we'd review it today. I got a Star Wars shirt on. I'm all ready. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? We saw two movies yesterday at different theaters.
Yeah.
And one of them was Power Rangers and one of them was Star Wars. And the last thing we saw was Star Wars. And I got real confused. I thought we were supposed to be talking about Star Wars. No?
No.
No, we're supposed to... Oh, and you know what? You wouldn't have been right for that anyway. Because you fell asleep 20 minutes in.
Yes.
So, okay. Well, let's go ahead and... talk about the new Power Rangers movie. So, of course, Eric and I did how we felt about the other day, and we said we weren't going to do a spoiler cast because we kind of said everything we had to say, and we didn't think that there was enough in the way of detail and fun spoiler stuff that we really wanted to talk any more about. And then, of course, Jayson, we went on a walk, and we talked about it for a whole other hour or so, and ended up with all kinds of other things to say, and it'd be nice if Eric was here with us, but we have kind of limited time right now, and we had to kind of sneak it in because we also have Iron Fist to talk about here in the next couple days as well for a spoiler cast. So usually, of course, with these things, we do a full-blown hour-long spoiler cast, do all the nitty-gritty, talk about all the little details, and we have a full panel. And today, Jayson and I decided that we would just do kind of a spoiler-laden talk for you. So it's not a full-blown spoiler cast, but this is for folks, of course, that have seen it or don't mind spoilers. And the reason I decided to go ahead and do this, partly because I just had some more things I wanted to say, but is also because I had kind of a whole other experience and a little bit of a new read on it after a second viewing. Jayson, I liked it a little bit more, maybe quite a lot, maybe quite a bit more on a second viewing. I still have lots of issues with it. I still don't think that it is... Okay, so I said before that I thought that it was a tonally amorphous movie. Didn't feel like that as much on a second viewing. And some of that might just be adjusting to the material because I, knew what I was walking into, but I felt like I was getting a much better sense of the movie they were trying to make, and I actually thought it was a little bit more thoughtful on a second viewing. But I still, and I still think that there's a huge tonal shift by the end that doesn't quite work, but again, I see where they're going for, or what they're going for. Basically, it's like, it's not a realistic world, but it's believable characters, and a world that looks realistic until they realize, oh, Zordon and Rita and Putties and Zords and et cetera, and so it's like the campiness intrudes upon their world, and they embrace it, and so I see what they're going for, but I just think that third act is really rushed, and it feels like we're using the fact that it's Power Rangers as an excuse to get really nonsensical. But here's the thing, I don't think that's what's going on. I think that, like so many things, and I'm so tired of doing this review over and over again, that it is just incomplete. It's missing a lot of stuff. I picked up on so much more of Zordon's exposition this time that explained things that I didn't get the first time that totally took me out to the point where, like for instance, the scene where Billy dies, it worked for me this time in a way it didn't the first time because I understood more about the morphin grid and the whole power transfer idea, and I didn't pick up on the idea the first time around. Like, I thought it was just this completely arbitrary, random rule that we suddenly threw in that we didn't have before, where Zordon's like, oh, I could walk out of the wall, but I'm not going to. I can save one person, and that didn't make any sense to me, and I thought it was really sappy and not in a fun Power Rangers way. And then, on a second viewing, I was like, oh no, we seeded all that early. But if you blink, you miss it, and it's really easy to miss some of that exposition because that first big Zordon exposition scene is, I think, really cut up. Like, I think it was 5 minutes longer. I think there was a whole lot more there, and they were terrified of boring a general audience and kids, and they didn't want this movie that's supposed to be, fun for kids to go to be more than 2 hours. And that's ultimately my problem with it now. I think I love the movie they were trying to make. and not enough of it is here. And so, you know, when Eric and I said it doesn't have a take on the mythology, I think it did. I think a lot of that was thought out, and I think a lot of it was left on the cutting room floor. And so we'll talk about some of that stuff. Jayson, how did you feel about it overall? Like, you know, as a 6-year-old kid that loves Power Rangers, were you bored by all the character stuff at the beginning? Were you like waiting for them to finally fight something, or were you enjoying all that characterization?
I was enjoying a little bit of it, but I still don't really like how they need to learn to fight.
Well, of course they would need to learn to fight, because they're not like martial arts experts in the first place. So I mean, that makes that makes sense, certainly, you know. Here's the thing. If it is just a straight up campy affair, and the idea is just to see kids fighting monsters in cool costumes, then they don't need to learn to fight, and you can just do what we always did in Power Rangers, which is build in that as part of the power set. When they put the costumes on, when they morph, when they're in costume, they know how to do all that. The end. The problem is, and they still could have built that some of that into the power set, I suppose. But and of course, you know, the ability. You still have to assume that the ability to use the Zords is maybe in there a little bit, because it's not like they get any tutorial time to figure out how to drive them. But it wants to be a more serious film than that, and make more sense than that.
And it's that scene where Zach goes in the Mastodon.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whole idea there is supposed to be, and I didn't really love that he was able to even drive it without putting the suit on, because Zordon has that exposition about the suits being linked to each other and to the Zords, and they seem like not just armor but also flight suits. And so I kind of wouldn't think that they would even operate without them. That's not a real big deal, but it kind of. But that scene is there, I think, for two reasons. It's there, so that you get to see one of the Zords in action before the end, because the filmmakers know that that some of the people, that maybe a lot of the people in the audience are going to be kind of shifting in their seats, waiting for the cool Power Ranger stuff to happen.
Yeah.
And the director said in an interview recently that he really struggled with that, where he wanted to make this more of a character piece and make it about these characters, and a lot of that really works. So hats off to him on that. But he knows that people want to see the cool superhero stuff, and so he gives you little tastes of it. But I think that's also there because it's supposed to be another illustration of these kids aren't ready yet to be Rangers because they don't care about each other more than they care about themselves, and that's kind of the message of the film.
I don't know why they don't get wet when they're in the water.
Well, I didn't think of that. I think they come out and they just get dry really fast, probably. I mean, you're right. I don't think you really see a lot of water coming off the suits. But I didn't think of that. But I think it's just that material. I'm not sure you would even be able to tell if it was wet. Because it's really sparkly, it's really shiny, and it's really sleek and smooth.
Well, I mean when they jump into the water and.
Oh, you don't mean in costume?
No, I don't mean in costume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do they come out and they're not drenched?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll have to look at it again. I didn't really notice that. But we're talking about extraneous details right now. Let's get more generalized for a minute. So let's just get back to the characterization. So you said. You would have appreciated less training and stuff, but did you like these characters? Did you enjoy learning about them at the beginning before they even meet Zordon and find the power coins and all that?
Yeah. I love the whole circle where
they're glowing?
Yeah. No, when they say who they are.
Yeah, at the campfire? Mm-hmm. The campfire scene's really pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're starting to figure out
each other
and why they're not able to morph, and that it is a teamwork thing. And you know these are not dumb kids, but they're each in their own way, with the exception of Billy, really self-absorbed and in their own world. And I like that they each come at that from a really different place. That there's a different reason for each of them for why they're not able to come together and make a good team and be worthy of the power.
Yeah.
Can I talk about that thematic thing real quick? Because this is my favorite thing about the movie, and it's the thing I think they nail. And I think, and I didn't appreciate it as much until I saw it twice. And again, I would really like to see the full version of this, because I feel like there's stuff cut out. But the message is wonderful. And it is, and it's great for kids, and it is literizing. Is that a word? It's making literal the what Power Rangers was all about, the teamwork thing. And it's basically classic Spider-Man power and responsibility. So it's taking the idea of power and making it literal. We say you have to be worthy. Your heart has to be in the right place, or the power does not protect you. I think that is so cool. And at no point in the movie does Zoran or anybody else ever say, "May the power protect you." I do kind of wish that was there maybe at the end, but it's there but it's very much there in how the suits work. And this kind of check on power that the Morphin Grid gives you. So you get these coins and you get your superpowers, but the power doesn't protect you until you're willing to protect each other, which is why the first time anybody is able to morph, it's Billy standing in between two Rangers who are at each other's throats and punching each other. And that's because you remember there's 3 rules, and that comes right out of the pilot. I thought that was great. It was really cool that Zordon doesn't just say that. We see it in practice. It means something. Never escalate a fight.
Right.
And that is Billy trying to talk them down and keep a fight from escalating. And he's taking a risk, and he's putting himself in between two people who are trying to hurt each other. And that's why he's able to morph, because it's about protection. And then when we find out what the Zeo Crystal is, and then it's all about life, and that's silly, and it's maybe silly in a totally fine, fun Power Rangers way. Give me just a second. But it's, but because you need this great power in order to protect life, the Morphin Grid wants to make sure that you're able, that you're doing it for the right reasons. Before that power will protect you. Now, I did kind of question the fact that you have this great, pretty much all of your powers without even morphing, which means that you can use them for horrible ends, like Rita does. But the problem with the Morphin Grid not letting you have the power until you've proven that power is just that, I don't know how Rita uses it. Yeah. Which is why I kind of think that her ability to do anything with the power coin would have to come from a secondary source. And we know that Lord Zed was supposed to be mixed in this somehow. I don't think he was supposed to appear in the movie, but that it was supposed to be, there was supposed to be a mention of Lord Zed, and like Rita was working with him or for him or something. And I would assume that her ability to manipulate the power coin would maybe come from an outside source like Zed, but I don't know if I'm right about that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm sorry, what did you want to say?
Well, I know how Billy knew how like push them. He was listening to Zordon.
That's right.
Being a ranger, and I saw him whispering it.
Really?
Yeah.
He whispers what, the rules?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Is that in there?
Uh-huh.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty neat if that's in there.
And they actually showed it.
Yeah, I missed it, if that's there. But yeah, of course, Billy is the heart of the team, as I said, and how we felt about, and he's the guy who is most selfless and cares about friendship. Remember that at the beginning of the movie, he wants to be accepted. He wants to be friends with Jayson. And he's got, a real kind of pure spirit about him. And he's still not fully ready to be a ranger yet because he's still in his own head and trying to do things on his own because he's used to doing that. He's used to not having anybody around and helping him, but he wants that companionship, and he comes to a place much, much earlier than any of them do where he would risk his life or give up his life for his friends. And I just think that message is fantastic. I love that we took the teamwork idea with Power Rangers that is always laid on really thick, and we actually turned it into something I think a lot more deeper and a little bit more poignant. That's the best thing in the movie. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't like Zach.
You don't like Zach? I think Zach's one of the most fun things in the movie. I don't know why you don't like him. Is it just because he's not like he is in the TV show?
Yeah.
Okay, but they're all reinventions, and especially on a second viewing, by the end, these are all brand new characters to me. And they all come alive, and they all have their own personalities and their own ideas and worldviews. And we use the original characters as a base for that, but there was never anything very much to those characters. They were always really one note, and at least two, if not one-dimensional. And so I don't know that it's really that's really a problem. I mean, what did you? Here's the thing. Here's what they took from Zach. He is the most fun-loving in the original series of the Rangers, and that is this guy. Of course, they dial it up to 11 because he's crazy.
Yeah, he got better at the end, though.
You think so?
Yeah.
One of the things I really liked about this too, again, especially on a second viewing, is the pairings. Is watching these characters becoming friends separately, like in pair-offs, before they appreciate each other all as a group. And by the end, I really buy this really tight-knit, group of friends. You have, is it Trini that says by the end of this, are we Rangers or are we friends? Is it her that says that? I forget, but one of them says that at the campfire. And at the end, I kind of like that they're still Rangers if anything happens, I guess, but that they're friends first.
Yeah.
And you get to see that displayed in that last scene where they're throwing paper around again. And there was a lot more setup and payoff in this than I gave it credit for, I think, in the first place. Some of it may be a little bit easy, a little bit obvious. I still don't know how I feel about, for instance, the way we beat Goldar at the end, being the thing Alpha kept trying to teach us with the putties. I thought that was a little easy, but there were some things like that. But I did like the slapping Rita thing, calling back to how they dealt with the bully earlier in the movie.
Yeah. I really like that Goldar line. That I think
Goldar line. Goldar has no lines.
Well,
Goldar is not a character.
It's a line about Goldar.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
That I think Zach says, where he says that's a lot of gold, and it's my favorite line in the second trailer.
Yeah, it's in the trailer, right?
Yeah.
Yep. The way, I guess we can jump around a little bit now. The way we dealt with Goldar wasn't great. And I don't know that it makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot of stuff in this that is really goofy and doesn't make sense. And I can't decide if it's okay because it's a Power Rangers thing, or if because this movie wants to be, and that's where tone becomes an issue, or if because it wants to be a movie with more character dimension and be more believable, if things like, well, you couldn't, and this was a point Eric made to me last night, well, you couldn't possibly get that much gold in the town that small. Like, I don't know if things like that are really, that big of a problem in a movie like this, and obviously it's not going to wreck the whole thing. That's an amusing oversight before it's anything. But I don't know. I would have loved to have seen something a little bit more creative with Goldar. It would have been nice if at least Goldar was a character. Like, the idea that Rita has to build him, I don't mind. I mean, she doesn't have a Finster. Finster would build him. I like that she needs to build a monster. But I wish that he didn't feel like a machine. I wish that there was maybe a little bit of a personality to him, and that he talked and stuff. And I have no idea. There are just some kind of baffling things that start to look too much like Mighty Morphin for material that is smarter than that. And again, that's a big like compliment to the movie, is the movie is too good for some of the throwaway Power Ranger stuff. Why does she go into Goldar at the end? I don't know. As far as I can figure, it's just so that he looks and she didn't have to go into him for this to happen, but he starts to look a little bit more like actual Goldar when she goes into him. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, but I had this dumb moment. I felt really dumb where she does that, and then Goldar's fighting the Megazord, and I went, oh wow, kind of looks like I'm watching Goldar in this movie. Oh yeah, it's a Power Rangers movie that is supposed to be Goldar, but his head starts being shaped more like, TV show Goldar. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know why he has wings. He doesn't fly. Because Goldar has wings. So, I get why he's one color in this, because he's made of just gold, and she put all that together. I get why it's designed that way, but I thought that was one of the least creative, ideas in the movie, and we could have done something more with that. Is it just you usually dig for gold, so it's supposed to be kind of like a fun reversal or an irony that the thing made of gold is doing the digging? Is that the idea?
He's supposed to be small instead of big. Like, he's big.
Well, and let's be careful.
End of Mighty Morphin.
Yeah, I think he does that pretty early, but let's be careful with how it's supposed to be, right? Because again, this is a reimagining, and I think especially because the message and the main thematic ideas are so Power Rangers and trying to improve on and flesh out that material, it is still very much a Power Rangers thing. There's a bunch of stuff with mythology that that I really think was in this movie at one point that I wish was still there, and then things that could have been a lot more fun and just weren't. And that's my big thing. It's not how things are supposed to be. It's that, well, what you did was kind of maybe a little bit generic or not as, with individual things, or not as interesting as what was there in the first place. Like the Zords, like the idea, and again, this conversation Eric and I had last night, the idea that the Zords take on this is kind of a throwaway explanation for why they look like dinosaurs. And I argued with Eric about this and how he felt about it, because there's a line he picked up on that I didn't, because apparently I pick up on character things in the first place, and then I understand the story on a second or third viewing. But there's Zordon has a line where he says that, or I think Alpha maybe, no Alpha, that the Zords, I don't think Zordon ever even talks about the Zords, that the Zords take on the shape of whatever is the dominant species on whatever planet they're on. Which gets really silly when you think about it, depending on whatever the dominant species on a planet is. Eric was like, what if the dominant species is shapes? What if somehow rather you go to a weird planet where it's just like shape animals and that's what it turns into? Or what if it's like, beetles? I guess then you get Beetleborgs. Or what if, like do you get giant versions of something small? Or did we just get lucky that we got big Zords because they're the size and shape of dinosaurs? So I don't know. That was kind of silly. But the problem is they wanted it to be a crashed spaceship. There's a lot of Man of Steel in this movie. They wanted it to be a crashed spaceship. And so they can't have already been on the planet. So how do Zords happen? So that's why we did that. And again, I want to know if they were meant to actually transform or not, because I don't buy all the shifting and moving parts and all of that like somehow or rather the Rangers transcend something and they're able to do that because they look like they're built to do that. And I imagine that that's not what it is at all. And that they really are supposed to be able to make a Megazord, but there's no discussion about it, and so I find that problematic. Like I said with the Billy Death thing, I liked that so much more this time. Still think the song choice was kind of silly, but I was more with it this time for whatever reason. Jayson, the reason that's great is because of once again the idea that you're not supposed to escalate a fight and you're not supposed to start a fight. And so, Jayson, who is, of course, a hothead, and as I said how he felt about, he is pretty much the Abrams version of Kirk. He doesn't like authority. He's constantly pushing back and doing whatever he feels like in the moment. But he has a heart of gold, and he's really naturally noble. And he really cares about people, and that comes up a lot. So he feels awful when he puts other people in danger, but when it's just him, he'll do anything, and that's very much Chris Pine's Kirk. And he what was I talking about? Where was I? Where was I going with this?
Chris Pine's Kirk.
Well, yeah, that's the last that's the last thing. But sorry, give me a second. I'm trying to remember what I was talking about. Oh yeah, okay. So he's a hothead, and he's putting people in danger, and he decides, well, we know where Rita is, so let's get a show of hands and vote and decide if we should go to her on her turf. And walk into her trap and hope somehow rather that we can win without being morphed. Okay, the reason that's a problem isn't just because they're not ready. Just arbitrary, excuse me, like vaguely, oh, we're not ready. It's that, and we're not armored, we're probably going to lose. Like, yeah, it's impulsive, it's a bad idea, and there are consequences. Obviously, somebody dies. I mean, yeah, he gets brought back to life. There are consequences for Zordon for that, too, and so suddenly I liked Zordon a lot more this time because I understood all that. I really just should not talk about movies after the first time I see them. But anyway, so the idea is supposed to be, you're supposed to wait. You're being responsible with power. You wait until someone does something wrong, and then you confront them. And it's like this. It's supposed to be, a message of how to act in real life too, when you're dealing with interpersonal relationships and difficulties, confrontations. So, Billy dies because they start a fight. They're not supposed to start a fight. Part of the reason they win at the end, and after they have decided that they appreciate each other and more than they care about themselves, and they're able to morph, is they've waited until Rita has escalated the fight herself, and then they go there, and then they fight her, and they don't make it any worse. And I love that. So I love that we get to actually see those rules play out like that, and so that's why. So that's why I like this death a lot more. And again, I understood what Zordon was doing now a lot better. But I just think all of that needed to be fleshed out more and made more explicit, because I had to really strain to pick up on everything. Because it feels like the filmmakers got too close to the material, and they forgot that a person just watching that wasn't there in the process of making it wouldn't pick up on all of the things that are there because they're not drawn out and put in front of you enough. I wonder what test audiences thought of this, and if there was any discussion about adding some things back in, because there were things that I simply missed on a first viewing that made all that confusing. So Zordon has a chance because when the Rangers come together, it allows the morphing grid to open. And the whole idea is, if the Rangers are able to morph, and this is an arbitrary set of rules, but there are rules and they're consistent enough and I understand them, so I'm with it. if they morph, Zordon can take their power, and that will allow him to resurrect himself. It's enough power that he can actually come back to life. It's a rule we're given. That's something he can do. Okay. And his whole plan, because he doesn't trust Jayson and the team to figure out how to morph, is, well, I guess I just have to do everything myself. Okay, well, the idea is supposed to be teamwork, and the whole problem with Rita, and I wish we got this background, more background, but the whole problem with, sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but I want to get all this out, and jump in anytime. The problem with Rita is that she let the power consume her, and she was obsessed with power. And if Zordon were to try to solve everything on his own and say, I'm good enough, I don't need anyone else, anyone could get to the point where they are corrupted by that power. And that's why you have that check on power from the Morphin Grid. I love all of that. And so he, at the last minute, makes the sacrifice and allows Billy to come back to life instead of himself, so that the team can come together and actually stop her, and he stays in the wall. Now, I would love to have had more stuff about how exactly he got in the wall. Like, there's a throwaway line that, Alpha was able to take his consciousness and put it there, but why not the other Rangers? We saw the Yellow Ranger, in the opening scene 65 million years ago. We know that at least she was there, if not the rest of the group, and we just didn't see them. Why weren't we able to take more of those personalities and put them in the wall? I don't know. Maybe he only had enough power to do it one time, but we're not told any of that stuff, and so I just feel like there's a lot missing, and I wish I had more of a complete picture of all that. But that's a lot of the big positive stuff I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. And why Zordon a Ranger?
I think that's great.
Yeah.
And Rita as the former Green Ranger is kind of a stroke of genius. I mean, I think it's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I like that it wasn't an evil coin. It's just she corrupts it.
Yeah.
And so we see why it's that way. I mean, there is some really cool mythology. It's just not fleshed out enough. I love that her suit is a corrupted Ranger morph. Yeah. I don't know why she's still able to morph at all. With it, and that's why I say something had to have happened where she's able to actually manipulate that power. But you notice when she morphs now, and that's why the new Rita suit can't look anything like the original, because it's a perverse version of a Ranger costume. I love that. I love the idea of Ranger power that is meant to unite a team being corrupted like that and used as a means to try to take over the universe. I think that's so much fun. But do you notice, Jayson, that when she does her new Rita morph, all the veins in her face are like the remainder of the mask?
Oh no, I didn't know.
I think that's why those are there.
Oh.
Because she's not a Ranger anymore. She's not with a team anymore. She's corrupted it, and so she has just the traces, just creepy traces of it.
Oh. Yeah. But the only thing I noticed about that suit is the spikes sticking out of her arm.
Yeah, the super creepy evil spikes.
Yeah.
She is one thing I don't understand is why she's still able to morph when she turns on the Rangers at the beginning. Again, 65 million years ago. Because I love that Alpha line, by the way. Is it Monday? Okay, 65 million years ago. I assume that they've been chasing after her for a while and that this didn't just happen. Why is she still able to morph? Like, that should disconnect her from the grid.
Yeah.
With my understanding of how this is supposed to work now. So.
Well, I thought at the beginning
Remember, we saw her Green Ranger suit.
Right. But I thought the beginning, the ranger suits couldn't be used on them anymore, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean they disappear. Well, yeah. So she must have done something to all that. I just feel like good call, because I mean we see it disappear on Bryan Cranston, on Zordon, and we see it disappear on the Yellow Ranger. May I also say, by the way, some of these were positive things I would have loved to have mentioned on How We Felt About, and they were just spoilery. I love the look of the tattoos or body art, or I don't think it's body art actually. It's probably just alien markings that you're born with for Zordon, on his face and his body. And I love the language they developed. They clearly came up with at least the foundation of a syntax for that, and it sounds great. And it's really cool how much of that Bryan Cranston gets to do. I was really hoping we would get to see Bryan Cranston in a Ranger suit. That didn't disappoint. And I just wish that opening was like 10 or 15 minutes long. I wish it was like Man of Steel.
Yeah.
And it has a lot in, except, I mean, you want it to make more sense than that did. But it has a lot in common with that. Like, he is Jor-El as much as he's Zordon, right? Where he did die, and his consciousness was put in a spaceship, just like Man of Steel, or the Fortress of Solitude with traditional Superman. And with the spaceship, instead of having a fortress or a command center, it's a downed ship. I also would have liked to have, just like Man of Steel, I also would have liked to have seen that ship in action. I would have liked to have seen what it looks like when it's not downed. And again, a lot of these things are things that I imagine were on paper and they're somewhere, and we never get them. I do want to mention some other spoilery issues or questions I have. So if I picked up one of those things, I would not call that a coin. It doesn't look like a coin to me. And the Rangers, before they ever meet Zordon, are already calling them coins. And they just don't look like coins to me,
They just look like rocks.
Yeah, they're rocks with like
circles.
A fossil something in it. But I don't know if I would. I mean, yeah, it's round. I mean, I just don't know if I would call that a coin. And when you look at them up close, you look at the toys, like they don't really look like coins. I don't think I would call it that. And so I kind of wish that they looked more like power coins, if that's what they're supposed to be. I kind of expected them to have a different name or something, and they didn't. They're still coins. I mean, it's okay if Zordon calls them that. I just think this is a nitpick. It's not a big deal. But I do think it's kind of weird that they picked those up and go, we got coins. So Eric, in the How We Felt About, and I was on about other things, so I hadn't even processed this, was concerned about the van. He goes, how do they get anywhere after that, and or how did they get home? And this is a big question, and on second viewing, this really jumped out at me, and again, I think there's an explanation, and it's not in the movie, and I am positive that the filmmakers have thought about it, because there was a line that Kimberly, I think, has that I didn't notice before, where they're in school, and remember we see Jayson, and I think Billy too, wake up in their respective beds, and they're already home, and they're kind of confused, and we thought we were dead because we got hit by a train. I love that. I we're really irresponsible, and we would have died. Now we got these power coins. We better sober up, and the power saved us. The power protected them, and so I guess it does protect them, from some things like getting hit by trains. But Kimberly says at school, I woke up and I don't know how I got there, and so clearly the filmmakers are thinking about that. They're not throwing that. They're not sweeping that under the rug, because they acknowledge it in the movie, and the Rangers are confused. How did we survive, and how did we make it? But more importantly, how did we make it home? Jayson, I think in the script somewhere originally, I think there was probably teleportation in this movie. There had to have been some kind of an explanation, but I think maybe they were able to teleport at one time. Because here's another big question, and I think this movie is too smart. And again, it ends up looking really hobbled together. I think this movie's too smart for this. I don't buy that the people making this movie and making me like these characters as well as I am are really scatterbrained enough to not explain how they keep making it back to the ship, to the down ship, to the command center. At the beginning of the movie, when Jayson and Billy are driving up to that quarry or mine or whatever it is, Jayson asks Billy, how much longer do we have to go? And they've clearly been driving for a while. And he says 44-something rather minutes. And they've already been on the road for a while. So, if it takes that long to get there and they needed a van to get out there, why do they never have any difficulty getting there again with no vehicle at all? Now, I'm not sure how Zach is getting back and forth. That's maybe a question, too. It seems like he would have to hike all day to get there. So that's kind of an issue, but you'd think if at the beginning they're thinking, well, they need a vehicle to get there, that after they have their powers, the only thing I can think of is that they're just leaping, like, really far a lot. You know, like the Hulk, they're just like jumping long distances every time they need to get. But you'd think somebody would notice that, at some point, once they got into town, especially. What?
And like the Beast.
Like from Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. That too. So I think maybe teleportation was in there at some point, and that explains it. Because if I was trying to make a mystery out of this, from the perspective of the Rangers when they first get their power, I might do that with teleportation too. That maybe it's an automatic thing that happens if you're in danger. Because think about, I said the power would protect them. Well, they're not they're durable. They're pretty durable because you have that bully that tries to knock Billy out with his head, and he just stands there and it doesn't faze him. And they need armor to go up against something as powerful as the putties, or as there's a sentence I never thought I would say, or as the Goldar or Rita. But I'm not sure that they could actually take a train to the face. So I'm wondering if maybe it was supposed to be they teleported out. Like it's in the coin, like it was in the morpher, or no, it was in the communicator, but it was in the communicator. Maybe the coin allows them to teleport.
Yeah.
But again, it's not in the movie, so I'm not. So it becomes a plot hole. It becomes a problem.
I don't know why they don't have communicators.
Cell phones. This day and age, you just wouldn't need them.
Yeah, the cell phone.
Yep. We're in a day and age. It takes all the mystique out of life. Mm-hmm. So a couple more questions, real quick, and then I'll conclude. So Rita just knows too much, and I don't know how she knows things. And again, there could be really easy explanations for this. I just don't know. I don't know how she knows that Billy knows where the Zeo crystal is.
Yeah.
I don't know how she knows that. I don't know how she knows where Trini lives. And again, there's an easy explanation. It could just be the interconnectivity, although I don't know if they would still be interconnected because she's disconnected from the grid, I think, but we don't really know how her powers work, so I don't know. But anyway, and I don't want to overthink this, but the only thing I can figure is, well, they both have power coins, and somehow or rather that allows her to find her. She knows who they all are. How does she know that?
Yeah.
Yes, Rita in the TV show knew that, but there was an explanation in that show. It's silly, but there was something. On the moon, she's got a telescope, and she can look at people. It's really silly, but that's more than we get here. Yeah. I do like, by the way, speaking of that, though, that at the end, when she gets slapped into space, she is on a trajectory toward the moon.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? That's pretty fun. Okay, so once again, must be cutting room floor. Why doesn't Billy tell the rest of the team where the Zeo crystal is? He goes and finds it. He figures it out himself. He puts together this whole conspiracy wall thing, and somehow or rather is able to pinpoint the location of the source of all life, which is under a Krispy Kreme, which I am now convinced, after a second viewing, was intentionally funny, and is now, like Eric said, some of my favorite product placement in a movie. I love it. I think it's wonderful. I think it's hilarious. And I'm jumping around, but speaking of the Krispy Kreme, Jayson, that scene where Kimberly and Trini are that little fork fight in the Krispy Kreme. Do you remember that?
Yes.
It's awesome. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. It's so much fun. I especially love that bit where, I forget which one, but where one of them does this, has the fork upright, and the donut is on top of it, and then the other one tries to take a bite of it, and she's like, and she pulls it back, and then they start going at it again. It's great. That choreography is awesome. I would have loved more of that kind of thing, and I hope we see more of that in a sequel.
I thought it was a piece of meat, but it's Krispy Kreme.
No, it was donut.
Yeah.
Did you think that was fun?
Yeah.
I thought that was so much fun. But anyway, so he figures out where it is. He goes there. Mm-hmm. And then he doesn't tell the Rangers. And then Rita, ties them up when she draws them into her very Saturday morning cartoon, kind of trap. And she's trying to, and she has figured out, again, somehow or other, which one of them knows it. I don't know how she knows that. And she points to Billy. And Billy has not told them, or Zordon, or anyone. I don't know why something is missing. I'm very confused by that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all I've got. I think. I know this was long, but I just wanted to kind of get my thoughts off my chest. Enjoyed it a lot more on a second viewing. To the point where I think I would flip my sign green. It is a real flawed movie. It is a real incomplete movie, and I still don't love that third act. But once again, the suits look great. I mean, I'm really excited to see more material. I don't agree with Eric now after a second viewing. With respect to Eric, he's not here to defend himself. I told him this last night, so I'm not telling you anything he hasn't heard. But Eric said in the How He Felt About that he didn't really want to see these people make a sequel, and I kind of do now. I think this is more thoughtful than I gave it credit for, and I think these people could make potentially a much more cohesive piece for a sequel. I just hope that they learn their lesson from this and let it be a little longer if it needs to be longer. Because it's clearly too short for all the material that they wanted to do. I mean, if they had to skimp anywhere, at least they went in favor of character over plot. I mean, that's wonderful. They didn't skimp anywhere there, except for with Jayson. I should have mentioned that too. That's another big thing. Is I still don't know. I was talking earlier about how he's like Chris Pine's Kirk, but I'm not really sure how he got that way. Is he frustrated because he doesn't
because of the guy with the mustache?
Well, that's his dad, the guy with the mustache. That seems to be a single dad. It doesn't seem like his mom is around, so I would assume that he feels like he doesn't have enough guidance and he misses his mom. But I don't think that comes up anywhere. Not that I noticed. And I saw the movie twice, so I feel like even if it is there somewhere, it's probably not made explicit enough. But I wasn't sure where that came from, and with Kirk in 09, I do know where it came from. He's different from the original series Kirk because he didn't have that kind of guidance, and he's insecure and he's unsure of who he is and of who he wants to be, and he's frustrated because all he really has to fall back on is going in his dad's footsteps, and he doesn't know if he wants to do that. But I don't really have a sense of it with Jayson here. But anyway, Jayson, I know I did a lot of talking, and originally, by the way, if you're wondering why Jason's just been sitting here and not saying a lot, it's because I was going to do this all by myself. And I invited Jayson to come in with me and told him that I probably would be doing a lot of the talking, but he was welcome to join me and jump in when he wanted to. So, Jayson, you got the floor, buddy. Anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to bring up, and even things maybe you want to see down the road?
Yeah. I don't like Zordon being mad.
But I understand why he is. He's really frustrated. He feels like he failed his team.
Yeah.
And he doesn't. It's the mentor who doesn't know how to be a mentor yet. He doesn't know what to tell Jayson to get him together or to get his team together, and he's really frustrated about it.
Yeah.
I liked all that a lot better the second time. He's not morally ambiguous like I thought he was.
I don't know why Jayson doesn't tell the other Rangers that he's the leader.
What do you mean?
Because...
I mean, they all know that. Zordon tells them that.
Yeah, but later.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Because there's this whole scene where Zordon tells Jayson that he's the leader.
Well, that's not really a secret they're keeping from the rest of them, though. The way I was reading it, it's more of like a pep talk. It's more Zordon speaking one-on-one with his lieutenant. And you have to do that when you're the general. And Zordon is like a general. Like he's got his army and.
Yeah.
Like an admiral.
He's got an army because he's a big giant floating head.
Did you like his look?
Yeah.
Did you like the thing on the wall? Did you like how it moves around?
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny.
When he gets mad, he just zooms over to the side.
Well, it's not just when he gets mad. It's just to talk to whoever is trying to talk to him, so that he's not talking to them from like a mile away.
Yeah.
So it's like if I'm over here, and like, oh, hi, Jayson.
Yeah. Yeah.
What did you think of the mid-credit scene?
Oh yeah. I love the trying to find Tommy Oliver thing.
I wasn't in love with it. It seemed like kind of the obvious thing to do. I'm glad that it's fun that there's a mention there. I guess I was less annoyed with the scene and more annoyed with our audience because everybody once he says Tommy Oliver was applauding, or at least a lot of our audience was, and it just didn't surprise me. I figured that's what you would do with that. The whole thing is about a former evil Green Ranger. Of course, Tommy comes up somewhere. Yeah. If we're gonna go to to a mid-credit scene, it's either gonna be that, or it's gonna be seeding Zed. And there was a 90 to 10% possibility. I thought there was a 10% possibility they would seed Zed instead of doing Tommy. And again, apparently Zed was even supposed to be mentioned. So I would bet money he's in the sequel.
Yeah.
It'll be like Krang with Ninja Turtles, and I just hope that it's handled much, much better than that. And I do hope they don't monkey with Zed's design too much. I think that he looks... This is another Eric point. He said this the other day, and I agree with him. Eric said, Zed looks almost designed for this universe. This is certainly a darker Power Rangers. I don't think it's too dark for kids. But like, we talk about death. People can die. I mean... The one person that did came back to life, certainly, so it's like the way people can die in the brief little toaster. But it's the villains are scarier. And Zed starts off pretty darn creepy for that show. And I would love to see them not do too much to him when he comes in here.
I didn't like the way Zed looked in the original movie.
Yeah, I didn't love that either.
Yeah.
But as long as they don't get too far away from that, he's got to have his Z staff, and he's got to. I mean, if he doesn't do that, whatever. But I want that, and he's got to. But he's got to be a metal skeleton with his skin off. That's it. That's all I need. But anyway, what else did you want to talk about? So was your favorite character Billy?
Yeah.
Or was it one of the girls?
It was Billy.
Mm-hmm. Because you told me you liked Kimberly a lot.
Yeah, and I like Jayson a little bit too.
Mm-hmm. I like him. I just and I said how he felt about that he's kind of just doing a Chris Pine. It's I mean, I don't feel like he's doing a parody of that, or like it's just, I think they cast him because he looks a little bit like that, and he's got some of the facial expressions he's doing are kind of Chris Pine, but I just feel like it's kind of a lower rent version of that because it's not fleshed out enough. I don't know where it comes from. I think he will grow on me more later, but I think he definitely has real leadership chops.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, that's all I have.
Is that all you have? Okay. Well, Ray, thanks a lot for watching. We sure appreciate it. And we will see you again with more videos here on Geekvolution this week. I keep talking about the Superhero Rewind for Top 10 Amazing Spider-Man, or excuse me, 90s Spider-Man episodes. And I have not had enough time to sit down and edit. So I am about... I will tell you, it's split in 2 parts, and the first part is going to be at least 45 minutes. And I am about 35 minutes into the editing for that. So as soon as I am finished, you will see it. And the second part is already almost entirely written. So I just have to get that edited. And then after that, I move on to the Wolverine. And after that, I'm doing another list. And I guess I'll announce it here because I might as well. It's certainly related, certainly appropriate. I'm doing a top 10 for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. After the Wolverine, so it'll already be a couple 3-4 weeks after the movie, but I think people will hopefully folks will be excited to see that anyway. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and once again, we sure appreciate it. I am Captain Logan,
And I'm Jayson.
See you, folks.